What's up? Back here with another video. Obviously, the Kansas event just ended. I'm literally recording this just the 30 minutes after the event ended. Very great fight night. There was a lot of good fights. I mean, let's just start with the bottom. So there's obviously a very impressive TKO first round win against Chelsea Chandler, Jocelyn Edwards. Edwards has always been kind of good, and in the shallow bantamweight division, I mean, it's kind of crazy how Chandler was even ranked, but it was an impressive win nonetheless. Edwards shows a lot of potential. I think she's a really good fighter, and I think she could definitely make it into the top five of the division, maybe even fight for the title. She kind of reminds me of she has a good striking. Her takedown defense isn't bad, and she got power. I mean, she pretty much took away she just take KO Chandler. I thought that was I mean, it's still a good win, I guess, because she's ranked. So I'd love to see Edwards, get back up there. The Kwamba TKO win was pretty good. Romero, I picked Romero, but Kwamba showed some levels. It was a pretty even fight. But Kwamba was able to land that good knee, and that just shut him down. Amarim, easy submission win against Viana. I mean, this was just a no-brainer. I mean, Amarim was on a big finish streak, and Viana was on her way out. I don't even know how the hell she's even in the UFC. But I guess Viana can retire and be an OnlyFans model. And Amarin, I see some promise with her. She's a really good grappler. And in the strawweight division, I mean, there's a lot of good grapplers, so I'm interested to see those matchups. For the Wellmaker Simon fight, this is one of my favorite finishes of the fight. I mean, that left hook was really good. I picked Simon for this fight just because Simon is really good. I mean, he was doing well against Wellmaker, but Wellmaker got power. He was able to land that left hook, and it just chinned Simon pretty easily. And then we got Damon Blackshear versus Aletengeli. Aletengeli, I guess. I don't know, some Mongolian name. But yeah, Blackshear didn't really. It went to a decision. I had Blackshear by submission, but obviously Blackshear didn't really try to submit him or even take this to the ground. I mean, he had some couple of lackluster takedown attempts there, but yeah, he went with striking. He just tried to strike. Even his corner was begging him to wrestle, but he was like, "Nah, bro, I'm gonna strike," and he did exactly that. So, I mean, I like that. It was really nice. Really nice striking from Blackshear. Shows he's really well rounded. That he can get it to the ground, but he can also strike as well. I mean, he had really good moments. The Gutierrez versus Castaneda fight was pretty close, but it was a war. I had a Gutierrez 2-1, and I don't know how you wouldn't. I don't know how it would be Castaneda. I thought that other judge was kind of tweaking, but the judging in this fight wasn't really so bad. Honestly, it wasn't bad. It was pretty good, but this is one of the ifs, the iffy ones. Elder versus Young, very good fight. Elder showed levels in this fight. He was outstriking Young. He was doing really well, and yeah, it was a very easy win for Elder, 30-27, easily. Now, this is what I want to call the fight of the night. Man, that Schnell versus Flick fight was really good. I had Flick winning by submission, but man, Schnell was really close with some submission attempts. Had that very insanely close guillotine in the end of round one. Had some good guillotine attempts too in the later rounds. Flick was doing some good ones as well. He had a couple good chokes. He was going for arm bars and stuff. If you're a grappling guy, you would love this fight. Like, you would have loved this fight. If you were like a BJJ kind of guy, MMA grappling guy, you would love this fight because there were so many good grappling exchanges. Schnell winning, that was a good win for Schnell. I like this win. Flick was kind of, Flick was an underdog, but he was kind of that young buck who could definitely surprise people. But Schnell showed some levels. I'm kind of glad to see Schnell coming back because he does have really good grappling. But I don't know if he will hang with the top 15. Ikram, very good finish. Muniz looked slow in that fight, but Ikram looked 2 steps ahead. He looked like he was doing really well, and he got the finish, round 1. That's a very good win for Ikram. I like that. Very huge favorite too, so I mean, this is a good bounce back win. Maybe one more fight, and then we can see him maybe go against a top 15 guy. So who knows? Now, this is what I like to call the sequel to Holloway versus Gaethje. Yeah, Randy Brown showed really good striking, really good power. Dalby had a very insane comeback. He got his nose broken in the first round, in the beginning of the first round. He was really bad. Like, I think commentary noted this, but his nose was pushed back so far that it couldn't even breathe. He couldn't even bleed out of his nose. It was just bleeding into his throat, which is a very bad thing to happen. You're just swallowing a bunch of blood. But he was able to come back. He dropped Randy Brown. He controlled him, and he was able to steal round one. And then in the second round, they just went all out, exchanging and just they were like, I don't know if they pointed down, but like they were just like exchanging in the pocket. And then Randy Brown hits him with that what is it, right hook? No, it's left hook. Yeah, he hits him with a left hook, just sleeps him. Like, holy shit, bro. Me and some people were just watching this fight, and man, it was fucking crazy, bro. We were all like, bro, we were so fucking hyped, bro. We texted in the group chat just like, oh, bro, man, it was crazy. But now we gotta go into the stinker of this event, Pereira versus Magomedov. I didn't say they were gonna gas, and I was really interested to see how that fight was gonna go, and I don't like how it went. Pereira did nothing. I don't know. Maybe I said this before, but Sean Strickland and Michel Pereira train, and both of them just did nothing in their fights that they had this year. So maybe there's like a little training thing we did over there where we decided to do fuck all. But yeah, Magomedov was able to win all 3 rounds. He had more activity, but he looked really gassed at the end at round 3. Both of these guys were gassed. I mean, these guys have no cardio, and Pereira still being ranked is very weird. And now Magomedov is going to be ranked, which I also don't like. But, whatever. We got Giga Chikadze versus David Omama. This was a good fight. Giga was doing way better on the feet. He was landing better hits. But Onama was able to win this fight with his wrestling. He was able to mix it up, get some really good takedowns on Giga. Damage-wise, I thought Giga won this. But obviously, sometimes damage doesn't always mean everything, especially when it comes to effective grappling. If the effective grappling is more prevalent than the effective striking, then they're going to choose the effective grappling in this case. And David Onama was controlling Chikadze for a majority of round 3. And I had Onama winning rounds 2 and 3. So, yeah, I think Onama won this pretty fairly. It was a close fight. But I had Onama winning this. He will be ranked number 12, maybe. So, I mean, that would be good for him. Onama is a really good fighter, really good power. Giga is a very good striker. But, I don't know. Giga's kind of on his way out. And I really don't like to see that. But it is true. It's happening. Co-main, Anthony Smith gets TKO'd in the first round by Zhang Minyang. What a surprise, I guess. I had this happening. I said Zhang round 1 KO. But maybe a little in the back of my mind, I was thinking maybe Smith can somehow fluke his way to getting maybe a submission or maybe taking this decision or something. But no, he just gave up. He got bloodied by a couple of elbows that Zhang was throwing in the clinch. And it was really bad. He was getting blood everywhere. And he shot for a takedown. He curled up in a ball when Zhang was able to defend it and get control. And he just sat there, got punched a bunch of times, got elbowed. Blood was spilling all over. His whole face was red. And then the ref ended Anthony Smith's misery and stopped the fight. And then they had the whole song and dance about the retirement. They got Shane his post-fight interview. But they also gave a whole heartwarming video to Anthony Smith and his retirement. And I have a big complaint about this. Why did they fucking do this for Stipe? So, Anthony Smith, I'm not shitting on Anthony Smith because he's definitely had a long career in the UFC, but when you have a multiple time defending heavyweight champion who is considered the heavyweight GOAT, who defeated DC twice and was the first guy to defeat Ngannou and dominate Ngannou, and he defended against notable names like Overeem and JDS and, you know, like a lot of these guys, man, and he doesn't get a video. He just gets a post-fight interview, and that's it. And then he gets a sorry attempt at it in UFC Macau, which isn't even the event that he's on. But Anthony Smith gets the whole song and dance, and I get it. They didn't know if Stipe was going to retire. But they must have known. Like, did you think Stipe was gonna stick around if he won the fight? That dude looked like he was there for the John Jones payday, and that was it. So the UFC not preparing for a retirement video just in case, it's just weird. And then Anthony Smith does the same thing as Stipe. You know, both of these guys said they were gonna retire. That this was their last fight. But they give the video to Anthony Smith, but they don't give the video to Stipe. I don't fucking get it. What has Smith done apart from having a honorable loss to John Jones, which he arguably should have won if he actually was smart and took the win? And then losing to pretty much every ranked contender except Ryan Spann. Like, that's a fucking impressive win. And giving up almost every fight, getting walk-off decisioned by Rakic, by the way. I keep reminding people that he got walk-off decisioned by Rakic. I don't know why people don't get it. But you need to realize how dumb that was. That shit made me laugh my guts out when I watched that fight. Because I'm like thinking, how sad do you have to be fighting like this? And, yeah, I don't know. Smith being ranked was even crazy. And he got 30-27 by short notice to Elite. I think people forgot about that. But I didn't fucking forget that. I watched that fight and I looked at it and I was like, how the fuck did Smith lose to a short notice to Elite? 30-27. I'm not saying Smith is some bad person. He's not a bad person. He's been fighting for so long, for 60 fights, and that is impressive itself. That is impressive to fight that long, to, be taking on these dangerous contenders, being beat up, and still keep on fighting. I think that's where the Lionheart is, because he kept on fighting. Even when his coach died, he still kept on fighting, and he gave Reyes a bit of a fight in the first round. Which, honestly, I do respect him for that. I have to give him his props. He does have some heart. But it does not excuse the fact that they gave him the video and all the treatment and all the sadness and all the sympathy. But then they give fuck all to Stipe. I just can't forget that. But enough of my rant. Jean Mignon had an impressive win. He's gonna be ranked on Tuesday, which is good. I actually like to see Jean Mignon climb up these ranks, because right now he's on a KO streak. Round 1 KO streak, hasn't even made it past the first round. Which, I love to see how Jean competes with the best of the light heavyweight division, because the rest of the light heavyweight division isn't no Anthony Smith. These are the big guys now. We got Krylov, we got Uzdemir, we got Walker, Azamat. And you got the top 5 guys as well, doing their own stuff. So I'm interested to see that matchup, how Zhang does against him. And, yeah. For the final fight of the night, Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates. Let's just, extend this. So as you can see, 141 to 64 strikes. Very, very big. But honestly, I thought Carlos Prates did surprisingly well against Ian Garry. I said this was a 50-50 fight. I chose Prates by KO because I was thinking he would find Gary's chin. And although he wasn't, he did drop Garry in the end of the 5th round and almost TKO him. He had him on the ropes in those last 2 rounds. But in the first 3 rounds, Ian Garry took over. He was way faster than Carlos. He was able to hit him with a lot of those head kicks and those uppercuts and jabs. Ian Garry looked like a really good striker tonight. He looked really good. Especially on short notice, it was impressive. And I know Carlos Prates was also on short notice. He was preparing for Jeff Neal, who's a very different striker to Ian Garry. And then he had to switch up an opponent, switch up in the camp and training for that camp. There's obviously those things as well. So both of these fighters were both unprepared, not prepared to the fullest in this fight. Ian Garry showed really good IQ. He showed a really good game plan following Carlos Prates. He was able to keep that left hand busy with those head kicks, which was really smart by him. I really like this fight. This was a really good, skillful, high IQ fight. And I'm impressed by Carlos Prates because he really did defeat the whole I have no cardio I can't survive deep waters allegations. He defeated that shit because Carlos's best moments were in the first 2 rounds. They were in the last 2 rounds. After being pretty much dominated in the first 3 rounds, he was still able to come back and steal the last 2 rounds. I think it was 48-47 for two of the judges' scorecards, 49-46. I had a 48-47 Garry. I thought Carlos won the last 2 rounds, and Garry won the first three. Obviously, after round three, Carlos needed to finish, and he was very close to a finish. Garry was able to survive, barely. He was hanging on the ropes in round five. He was in trouble. But Garry showed a lot of heart. He was able to survive. He was able to persevere. Carlos is a dangerous guy, and he was able to survive against him. He got hit. He was in trouble. But in the first 3 rounds, he showed a lot of control, a lot of good IQ. He kept on mixing it up with the takedowns, which I think did limit Carlos' striking in that fight. But I thought this was a really good, impressive performance by Garry. But I thought it was also a really good, impressive performance from Prates. I think Prates did show that he can still compete with the best. And I think Garry, his nickname's the future. I think he is kind of the future. He does show some potential. He's a very well-rounded fighter. I think him training in shootbox has really improved his style. And I like to see where Garry goes from here. If I'm going to choose fights, so for Prates, I'd actually say, so there's two options. I know Randy Brown did say he was going to fight Jeff Neal, but I think we should rebook Prates versus Neal because I think stylistically that's a really good fight for Prates. And I don't think Prates should be so slapped on or fight a lower contender because honestly Prates did really good and I think he still has a lot of potential. Although handed the Fighting Nerds their first loss, it was a 48-47 decision to Garry, who was a number 7 guy. That's not a fraud check. That's not Carl's is shit. CP is bad. That's it was a 50-50 fight, so the fight being a 48-47 decision, not surprising. Really not surprising. I thought Carlos would have win the first 2 rounds and maybe Garry might catch some momentum later. But it was complete opposite, which is what really surprised me. Because Carlos was able to reverse the momentum of Garry, which was very surprising, and almost finish him in the 5th round. Kind of did fumble that finish a bit when he had him against the cage. But Garry was able to survive, but Prates showed he can really hang in the deep waters and turn things around. Because he was doing really bad in the first 3 rounds. And then he was able to turn things around and win the last 2 rounds. Steal round 4 and win round 5. But I think Carlos Prates still has a lot of potential. I don't think this loss will hold him back. I think this loss will actually motivate him and realize he can really go into those 5th rounds and survive and really make it back. I think this will actually make Carlos Prates better. I think this will make him better. We've seen people who have been these knockout artists, not going past the first round, go get dragged into deep waters, realize, oh shit, I might be kind of good. I think I am confident that I can go 5 rounds with someone and be able to make a difference. And then they actually have more confidence in themselves and they do better the next fight. See, we saw with that with Garry. Garry, he was doing 3-round fights. He went with Shavkat. He was able to survive and bounce back in round 5. And that gave him the confidence, and I think that confidence allowed him to take on Prates, and he had a really good game plan going against Prates. And now we're going to see that with Prates as well. Going 5 rounds of Garry and almost TKOing him in the 5th round is very impressive, considering that Garry's never been finished. I think Prates had a way better performance against Garry than Shavkat did. I'm going to be real. He had a way better performance because of those last 2 rounds. Because he had Garry hanging on the ropes, and Shavkat kind of didn't. I feel like Ian was more close to a finish against Shavkat than Shavkat was towards Ian. But Prates was close to finishing Garry in the 5th round. That would have been an insane comeback for Prates, but, didn't work out. Garry was able to skate by and get a close decision win. I feel like the same thing happened to Leon as well and Bilal. Bilal was doing really well in the beginning. Leon was able to bounce back in the 5th round and almost TKO Bilal, but Bilal was able to survive to the end. It was just an option of, Prates won the fight. Prates was winning the fight in the end, but there was no time left. Same thing with Islam versus Volk 1. That's just how UFC is. Sometimes people can show that they're winning the fight in the end, but will still lose because in the beginning they weren't winning. So we have those fights. You can maybe, I don't think people are going to say Prates got robbed in that fight. Maybe some hardcore fans, but I didn't think he got robbed. I thought Garry won 48-47. Garry easily won rounds 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3. But rounds 4 and 5 went to Prates. And I thought it was not really close in round 4 and 5. I thought round 4 and 5 was clearly Prates. 49-46, not a bad scorecard, but kind of sus because how do you not give round 4 to Prates? Prates had the better moments in round 4. So, yeah, for sure. He got outstruck, but honestly, it's like, if you look at, I mean, yeah, he got outstruck, but to be honest with you, most of this outstruck moments were in rounds 1 to 3 because in rounds 4 and 5 it was pretty close. So, yeah. But it was a really good fight. I really liked both of these guys' performances. I didn't think Prates did bad. I think he did pretty well. I thought he did way better than I expected because I thought if it went fully 5 rounds, Ian Garry would win. And it went 5 rounds, but Carlos Prates was winning in the end, which was pretty surprising. And then Ian Garry showed really good patience. He was able to survive getting almost TKO'd. He was really in a lot of trouble in the 5th round. But I really like that fight from both of them. Ian Garry, who I should probably match him up against. Leon Edwards. I think Leon Edwards would be a good fight. I don't want Ian Garry to get a title shot yet. I think Ian Garry should fight Leon and then I guess if Ian Garry wins that should qualify him for a title shot. With the whole situation of Islam, and then there's Shavkat and Brady, and then there's Buckley fighting Usman. It's a lot of contenders, man. But I think this is gonna be a good one. Yeah, I'd love to see this. See that fight, Ian Garry versus Leon. They're both strikers, and Ian has been showing a lot of promise. He's very well-rounded, so I think he has a very good chance of beating Leon on the feet. For Carlos Prates, if Randy Brown wants to fight Jeff Neal, I probably wouldn't mind seeing that fight. There's 2 options. He could rebook the fight with Jeff Neal, which honestly I'd like to see, stylistically wise, or he could fight Colby. Those are the 2 fights I want to see. Colby or Jeff Neal. I'm leaning towards Colby because I fucking hate him and I want Carlos Prates to knock his bitch ass out. No bias, of course. But yeah, I mean, Prates versus Colby would be a good fight, against a wrestler mainly. I don't think Colby's going to do as good in the wrestling against Prates now since he's kind of washed. But I think Prates versus Colby will be a good fight night main event. I think Prates should be in main events. He's definitely proven he can make fights exciting, especially in the last 2 rounds. He's definitely made it very exciting. He's not fraud checked. He just fought a really good opponent. Ian Garry is a really good opponent. Losing to Ian Garry isn't that bad because only Shavkat was able to beat him. And Shavkat barely beat him. It was a 3-2 fight. So, I mean, Ian Garry is a really smart fighter, and he figured out Prates in the first 3 rounds, but Prates was able to bounce back, which really was an impressive performance. For all the people who will say that Prates got fraud checked, oh, the fighting nerds suck, oh, they got fraud checked. Like, okay, bro. Don't listen to these people. Those people are retards. They don't really pay attention to fights. They don't watch fights. They watch TikTok edits, and they have like all these feelings, and they don't really care about fighting. They just They just like glaze fighters for no reason because they're so much of a loser in their life that they have to go like defend fighters like they're like their daddy or something. Like, oh yeah, Ian Garry, he fucking fraud checked Carlos Prates. Oh, Carlos Prates sucks. Ian Garry's so good. Like, we fucking get it, bro. You're a fucking loser. But I don't need to do that. I can watch fights and be like, Ian Garry had a good performance, but so did Prates. Because both of these guys did well in the fight. It was a pretty good competitive fight. 3-2. 3-2 Ian Garry. Prates won the last 2 rounds. And maybe if there was a 6th round, he probably could have won. He probably could have finished the fight. But Ian Garry was able to get the first 3 rounds solid, and he won by decision. momentum switched, but Garry was able to survive. That's just what happened. But yeah, I like Carlos Prates fighting Colby or Jeff Neal. I'd rather see the Jeff Neal fight, to be honest, though. So maybe rebook Prates for Neal versus Neal for UFC 318. I'd love to see that. Neal versus Prates, both black people, on a New Orleans card. Why not? Is Neal even from New Orleans? I think he's from Texas. Yeah, I think he lives in Dallas. So yeah, I think Neal versus Prates would actually be a very good UFC 318 main card fight. So I love to see that. Rebook that shit, Dana. Rebook Prates versus Neal, UFC 318. Listen to me. I'm a better matchmaker than a couple of yours, bro. Maybe not McMaynard or Hunter, but add me to your matchmakers. I can make the best fights ever. DDP versus Sean 3, UFC 317. Okay, I'm kidding about that one. But Prates versus Neal, UFC 318, main card. Maybe feature bout or the main card opener. Or maybe the big fight in between that. Do that. Because that is a really good fight still. I don't think Prates should fight an unranked guy. I think he should still fight someone like a Neal or a Colby. Because he still had a good performance against Garry on short notice, by the way. He was doing this on 3 weeks short notice. Because he was training for a whole different guy. So I think rebook that fight for UFC 318. And Dana, hire me as your matchmaker. I'm fucking broke. I don't make any shit from this YouTube or the Instagram. I want to get paid. Okay, I'll go to the press conference and be like, hey, I make the best matches of all the time. And you guys never listen. And people always support me. So yeah, I want my fucking job. So yeah, enough ranting though. I like this fight. So let's make it. Anyways, that'll be all for this UFC Fight Night reaction. I don't know what I'm gonna make a video next. There is the Des Moines card, so I might make a video. What should I make a video? I'm probably gonna make a prediction video tomorrow. Just because I want to get out of the way. I'm gonna be very busy next week, so yeah, I'm gonna make a prediction video. I might not watch the fight because I have to fly back on that same day as on Saturday. So who knows? But yeah, I mean Corey versus Figgy, very good fight. But I'll make a prediction video tomorrow. Don't worry, guys. I got you.